Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Round 3 of the County Championship is in the books. It's a good week. We've got rain. Every time we start the podcast, we talk about rain. Why does it rain so much in summer, Richard? That's the question we've got to start with.
Is it even summer yet, Rob? We're still in April. Got to check my watch to see what month it is. It's frustrating, isn't it? It got in the way of a few games this week. We'll talk about that, obviously. It made some games even more exciting. It didn't make my first attempt at playing cricket this year work because I was rained off on Sunday after 0 nets this winter. I was desperate for a bit of cricket. I've repaired my bat though, so it's fine. I'm ready. I can play cricket now.
You're ready for the call-up. Your whites are clean. Your bag's ready. Your bag's packed.
Mate,
you get a call on Saturday morning going, I need you for 3 overs from one end. I'm good to go.
I'm ready. I'm in. Second team in this year. I've even got a new pair of trousers for the first time in about 10 years as well. So, here we go.
That's a good effort. That is a good effort. Before we get in, we want to give a couple of plugs. One, leadingedgecricket.com, your place for your county championship. First ever on the internet statistics dashboard, gives you all the players and bowlers that's ever played county championship cricket, released every single week with the updates from the games and new features. Some new features have just dropped. Ground averages for batters and stuff like that, as well as buy me a coffee for all the great work that we do. If you do feel like going, hey, we appreciate your work, guys, you can do what Brownie-O's just done and says the County Stats dashboard is a real triumph. Well done. And he's donated $5. So thank you very much. It's much appreciated. A lot of hours go into the podcast and all the work we do. So good place to be. Feel free to head over to leadingedgecricket.com and take a look.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you.
And county cricket, Rich, we've got 7 games. With it being week 3 of the season, some teams have already been given bye weeks.
Yeah.
But whereabouts are we going to start? Because we had a lot of rain, but some captains took it upon themselves to try and force results.
Absolutely. We're going to start at Lords. At HQ, the only place to start, Rob, where Nottinghamshire took on Middlesex. The main game, Rob, as you said, most games, if not all, rain impacted at one point or another, didn't it? But it did set up an intriguing final day's play that Mr. Brendan McCullum himself would have been very proud of, as Middlesex chased down a target of 249 to win this one in the increasing gloom late on 4th day to record a win over Notts. Massive credit, before we go on, should go to Nottinghamshire and skipper Stephen Mullaney for setting this one up there. They declared their second innings overnight to set the competitive target that both teams would have been fired up to get that win. What do you think? Before we go into how we got to this point, Rob, that's exceptional cricket from Notts and Mullaney, isn't it, to try and set up this win, a victory for one side or the other?
Yeah, it is. And I feel there needs to be more of this. There's been a couple of games this season where potentially a team could have had a go, if not for 20, 30 overs, see where they get to, and they've kind of pulled back. Whereas Notts and Middlesex need credit for taking on the chase as well. Really kind of stepping up and going, these are games we've got to win. Like, you're going to struggle to beat your Hampshires and your Essex at Essex and your Surreys. But Notts versus Middlesex is a game both teams really need to try and get 20, 24 points or whatever the point system is these years out of it. And they gave themselves a really good opportunity to do it. Good for the teams and, more importantly, good for fans in the ground and watching on YouTube.
Exactly, yeah. Also, the ones that were booing in the crowd when Notts were taking their time, name a team that when it's getting dark towards the end of the day with about 3 overs left would be not dragging their feet all over the field trying to slow things down. Come on.
We all remember Karachi, mate. We all remember it.
Exactly. Right, how did we get here, Rob? So let's set this one up. So Notts got the game underway, 364. A really good start from Notts. England opener, should I say, Ben Duckett. Fine 177 off 258, and his opening partner Hasib Hamid 55 and 92. Also good contribution from all rounders Lyndon James 41 for him and Steve Mullaney 46. Ethan Bamber, Mini Murta, he impressed with the ball for the host, 4 for 89 in 26 overs. Roland Jones and Ryan Higgins both claimed 2 apiece. Middlesex top order got underway in response, Rob, proving a point to us after their dreadful start to the campaign as we saw overdue runs, has to be said, overdue runs, coming from Mark Stoneman 76, while Sam Robson and Peter Malang also got into double figures. Take a moment, appreciate that after their telephone number of a start. You know what happened last week. If anyone listened to us last week, you know why we're talking about this. Ryan Higgins struck a nice 53 off 82 to see Middlesex to 274. Stuart Broad warming up nicely for the Ashes, Robs. 4 for 68 in 22 overs and looked very, very good. Also, just to mention, we've already mentioned Lyndon James with the bat, but it was also great to see Lyndon James show what he can do with the ball after his bowling was very limited last summer due to injuries. He took 3 for 58. So, a handy lead of 90 going into the third innings. At this stage, Notts are thinking we're on top of this. Not second innings, Toby Rowan-Jones, early inroad, saying all-important wicket of Ben Duckett for just 7. Then Bamber followed up in the 10th over to remove Hamid, 34 for 2. Middlesex bowlers kept chipping away. Bamber taking another. Holman cleaning up Ben Slater. And then Joe Clark finally got a few runs this year. He was in as a keeper as well, it's worth noting this week, in place of the missing Tom Moores, who's broken a finger. Clark hit a season best so far, 52, was dismissed on the final ball of day 3 to reduce Notts to 158 for 6. A bad forecast was coming. We had a rain-delayed start, so Notts decided they needed to do something. And it has to be the fair decision. I think before we say what happened, we don't want hindsight in this, even though we do have hindsight, but it was the right decision for Notts, wasn't it? They could have battered on for a little bit just to get themselves up to 280 or something like that, but to set such a target, you just can't argue with it.
Yeah, it's a good target. It's a fair target where you were pushing them to 6+ and over. But I think if Notts, in hindsight, may feel they kind of left a few runs on the table. They only went at 3.1 in that 3rd innings.
Yeah,
it's a great declaration. It sets up the game, but that Clark wicket really changed what would have happened. He's a guy that would feast on, hey, you've got 10 overs, go score us 40 runs. Change the game, just push it a little bit out. And they weren't quite able to do that in the overs they had trying to set up the win.
Yeah, it'd been interesting to see what would have happened if Notts had decided to bat an hour once the game restarted, but then we would have lost an hour on the other end, obviously. So Middlesex may not have really wanted to go for it. So it is what it is. But anyway, the 4th innings, Rob, credit has to also obviously go to Middlesex for taking this chase on from ball 1. They didn't just have a look for 10 overs and then decide to go for it. They went for it from ball 1. Steve Eskenazi promoted to an opener and Mark Stoneman got him off to a flyer. Eskenazi was out in the 4th over with the score already on 34. Pretty good going from him. And Stoneman 43 off the 32. Excellent stuff. Peter Milan kept the scoreboard moving as he scored an important 61 off 71. And then Max Holden, another promoted, he got his T20 hat on and hit 53 off 57. John Simpson and Luke Holman kept it moving, but it was left to Ryan Higgins and Sam Robson. Yes, you heard me right, Rob. Sam Robson even came in at number 8, and they saw Middlesex home in the darkening North London skies. Higgins 22 not out, Robson 12 not out off 18, or it might have even been the other way around. Can't remember now. Broad had another 3 wickets, finishing 7th, 145 for the game for him. Just a quick note: Ryan Higgins at the end, 22 not out. He also got 2 for 33. He's such an important player. We keep saying that. He's absolutely key to this team as well with both sides of the ball. Just overall, Middlesex, great win for them. Great credit all round. Everybody comes out with some credit, apart from those couple of people booing at the end at Middlesex. Get it, Grim.
Yeah. It's kind of like the football 6-point game, this. Like two teams that are, they've just come back up, potentially that middle of the table, kind of lower end of the table. Notts may have expectations that they can go higher. But Notts will feel like they left a few points on the table here, but did everything they could to try and win. A few takeouts from the game. Ryan Higgins, exceptional cricketer. Except 256 runs at 51 this year. Just walking around, scoring a whole bunch of runs, playing real nice. Middlesex's top 6 average has gone from the worst in, or their average has gone from the worst in the league to second worst in the league, thanks to some decent runs here. Notts will be disappointed they went at 6 and over in the second innings, considering they had Brody in the attack. And a couple more wickets from him. They would have thought he potentially kept it a little bit more quiet. Lyndon James's back foot drive is an absolute thing of beauty. If you can go and watch him bat, I think it was in the first innings when he made his 40-odd. Some beautiful back foot drives, just really, really elegant. And Ben Duckett, incredibly, second score of 177. Going back to 2021 versus Worcestershire. And incredibly, he's had 10 scores of 150 plus in county championship cricket. And this at a strike rate of 68 is his slowest. Let that sink in. This was slow for Ben Duckett.
Get on with it. No, get on with it. This is why he's in the England team. It's a lovely thing that they've had the agreement at Notts as well for him to open, and Slater's swapped position and dropped to number 3. Whether that suits Slater, I don't know. He hasn't really got going yet, but Duckett it's brilliant, and like we always say every week, we have such one eye always on England and head for the Ashes, and this is why we're so interested in seeing Brody take 7 wickets in this game, to see Ben Duckett get 170 odd. Hamid starting to do pretty well.
We haven't touched on the Brody away swinger, mate.
Oh, go on, touch on it.
He's being talked about on Twitter. Mate. Everyone is talking about the Brody away swinger. Brody's been on Trent Bridge TV talking about the Brody away swinger, just to try and give him something a little more. He really struggled. Don't think he's ever got Marnus out. and he averages over 100 against Steve Smith. So to make himself more viable in that England attack, given the Ashes coming, he's like, I've got to take wickets of right-handers because I feast. I've got David Warner in my pocket still. So he's working on the outswinger, and I can't remember who he cleaned up in the first innings, but it was a beauty of an outswinger. Not quite Jimmy Anderson-esque rolling back the years, but it was a beautiful wicket, and you can see he's really working hard with the focus very clearly on what his job is this summer, and that's to win the Ashes.
Yeah, and it felt like we really are in the build-up is ramping up. We had Jimmy Anderson performing. We had Ollie Robinson with the ball. We had Jack Leach. We had the England bowling attack out here this week. It was great. Right, so great win for Middlesex. Congratulations to them. Fair play to Notts for setting it up. Right, let's move over to Taunton, Rob. One of the first match drawn game. It offered a lot, didn't it? But it only got halfway through the third innings, all even. Somerset. We know what we're going to talk about this, Rob. Big scores. First innings, 441. Magnificent partnership of 244 between skipper Tom Abel and rising star James Rue. Abel top scored 151 in 285, whilst Rue, the ex-England under-19 keeper batsman, I think he's only 20. If he's even turned 20, he showed his class with his second first-class 100 and top score to date as he hit 117 in 253. Many more to come from Rue, we are sure. One eye on England performances, you'll also be pleased to know that man, Jack Leach, got his eye in. 40 lower order runs, Rob, off 32 deliveries, included 7 fours and a 6. Go on. Lovely stuff. His fellow England bowler, Jimmy Anderson, 5 for 76 off his 28 overs as he led the Lancashire attack. The game saw a welcome return for Saqib Mahmood as well. A long spell out of injury. Great to see him back bowling. And he finished with the solitary wicket in this game of Peter Siddle. Lancashire replied with an even better effort, finishing on 5-5-4 all out. Keaton Jennings, 189, Rob, of 247 deliveries before he had to retire hurt with a suspected hamstring tear. He did battle on for a little while using Luke Wells as a runner, but this is a seriously worrying development for Keaton and Lancashire. Fingers crossed it's not as serious as first suspected. Luke Wells, mentioned him, he earlier hit 82 at the top of the order off 109. Josh Bohannon continued his productive start to the sum of 85. Lewis Gregory, on the back of his, I think it was 11 wicket game last week versus Notts, took 3 for 81, Siddle 3 for 97, and Jack Leach 2 for 145 off 28 overs, Rob. Got a bit of tap. Somerset had reached 256 for 6 before the game came to a close on the final day, with Casey Aldridge top scoring with an unbeaten 58. Rue 47 in the runs again, Tom Abel 40, and Lewis Gregory also unbeaten on 34. Lanks 3 wickets for Tom Bailey and 1 each for Jimmy A, George Balderson and Tom Hartley. Notably, Tom Hartley, he was the man that got the nod as the spin option ahead of Matt Parkinson in this one, and as somebody I think mentioned on Twitter, probably to do with the fact that middle order of Lancashire is not so useful at the moment, or hadn't been as useful with the bat of the lower order.
Interesting, very interesting. I'll touch on Lancs. No win in 3. Lancashire, no win in 3. Draws against Surrey and Essex, 2 very hard games before this one, mate. Yep. They would have fancied themselves for a victory here if it wasn't for the rain. I wrote Jimmy the Old Dog. He's 5 for 76, 338 county championship wickets at 22, 6.39 less than the bowlers in the matches that he's played in. But since 2019, 64 wickets at 13, 14 runs less than the bowlers in the matches he's played in. He just ages like a fine wine. He's class personified, and I've always said he was a tearaway when he came in bowling 90-odd mile an hour. And after he had his back issues, he worked on his skill and accuracy and his ability to move the ball both ways and became a better bowler. And he bowled, I've always thought, at a speed that is very much within himself. So now he's 40. He's not hacked his body to pieces. Because when he plays county championship, honestly, there's not many bowlers that are bowling 82, 83 mile an hour that look quicker than Jimmy. He's just... He's still there. He's still good. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? You know, if you can bowl just within yourself, but with that incredible skill set, you're going to have the longevity that you need to be Jimmy Anderson. And it's just a legend. It's simple as that. We use that word far too often, don't we? But that is absolute legendary status for Jimmy Anderson, and he keeps churning it out. He's a ridiculous sort of player, and so's Keaton Jennings the last couple of years, mate. 4 of his top 6 scores ever in county championship cricket have come since May 2022. 318, 238, 199 and 189 here. 3 of those with a strike rate of over 70. His change point, I've spoke on the podcast in the preview, his change point has been he's failing around the same amount of time career 55% of his dismissals is for under 20. The last 2 years, it's dropped to 50%, which isn't that much difference. But it's what you do when you get in. That's what is the big difference maker, and that's what he's doing. So him being out, almost a hamstring, depending on how bad that is, that could be months before he's back.
Yeah.
So that is almost the next guy past Duckett, potentially the next guy past Duckett, past Crawley, that is in amazing form of his life, and not quite there. It creates an issue in our depth chart when we start looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, Jennings had to be next cab off the rank as an opener, didn't he? I mean, Hasib Hamid is probably number 4 if you want to look at that after Crawley and Duckett. So it does open a door if a door is open, but there's somebody was kicking that door and nailing it shut today as well, which we'll get onto when we get to Kent. But yeah, it could be really, really tough work for Lancashire. But this is just an early report. We've got no idea. It might recover much better than they've early anticipate, but we shall see. I'm going to just jump around a little bit here. I'm going to go to Kent first, Rob. Talking of that, teed it up nicely. Another game heavily impacted by conditions, obviously. Another draw, Kent versus Essex at Canterbury. We didn't even get through 2 innings, Rob, but it was notable for a big, big innings from England man Zach Crawley. 170 off 183 deliveries. I'm sure you'll have plenty to say about this. Essex bad first, had 2 centuries of their own as they put up a solid 451 for 5 declared. Skipper Tom Wesley, 148 off 185, whilst opener Nick Brown top scored with a much more patient 159 off 299 balls. Keeper Michael Pepper also hit a runner ball 52. Aussie seamer Wes Agar took 2 for 67. Conor McKerr 2 for 84. Kent had reached 342 for 7 before the draw was agreed. After that man, Zach Crawley had hit his wonderful 170. Opening partner Ben Compton was also in the runs with 46, whilst Joey Everson was left unbeaten on 38 after his cruel 99 last week. Simon Harmer led the Essex attack with 441 off his 31. It's important to add that England hopeful Sam Cook did not play this week following his injury in the last round, Rob. Unbeaten Essex take 12 points. Kent finished with 8 in this one. And Zach Crawley has to be your talking point.
He does. I've got a great point on Kent, which I've been badgering on about all season, but Crawley, first Championship 100 since I think it was September 2020, and it was a classy knock. 45 innings has passed, 1,200 runs, 2,200 balls, a strike rate of only 53 during that period, and an average of 30. Before he plays one of these gems, which is kind of like that England versus Pakistan gem. It's the stuff in between that causes us problems. But if he does this in the Ashes once, is he worth his weight in gold? When you think we had Mark Stoneman in Australia, who never made it past about 30. We had Adam Lyth for a whole series in England, who averaged about 15. Australia got by on having Marcus Harris averaging about 15. Does it matter if he averages his career sort of test average 27-30, but he plays 1 match-winning innings? Do you take him?
Depends when it comes. If it's the first innings of the first test, then he's in. But if he's waiting until the 5th test to do this and he's averaging 20 for the rest of the series, it might be another conversation. It also depends if Keaton Jennings is fit and available, or who's looking like they can come in. And it's all about demand, isn't it? You've got to have someone on the outside looking in who is forcing the conversation rather than just not performing in the team. It's great to see, though. I mean, his first-class record is bizarre. It's so strange as well when you hear him talk about how he struggled a bit last year because he made this score because he was enjoying it. He's enjoying his cricket again after last summer. How was you not enjoying your cricket last summer when you were told to just go out and just play? Don't worry about getting out. Don't worry about your dodgy, massive gate that you leave to drive a car through to take your stumps out. How was he not enjoying it last year and he is now? Too much pressure on himself?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of pressure on himself, probably under the radar. No real cancer result going on here, but Kent will be happy that they managed to bat pretty decent again in a game of cricket. That's going well for them at the moment. Kent's problem, and I keep talking about it as he tries to find his stats, is their bowling, and it was their bowling last year. I said that their bowling was averaging 60 to 100 last April and May, and it'll be a problem this year. It has been a problem this year. They've got the highest average in Division 1. I think it's about 45 off the top of my head. Just not going to win many games averaging 45 with the ball. So great Compton's in great form. Great. Crawley's got runs from that England red ball perspective, and some of the others are chipping in. Daniel Bell-Drum's not quite got going, but Jack Leaning's done okay. So they've just got to take some wickets. They've got to give... If the batting's performing and Compton's churning out all these runs, and you've got Crawley potentially in this form, he scored 91 in week 1. Got to get a win while you've got these guys going hot, because it's only going to get harder if they start to cool off during the year. And next week they go to Middlesex, where that bowling attack is playing against the potentially worst informed batting lineup in the country, let alone Division 1. Got to go and get a result out of that.
Yeah, definitely. There is a guy that does bowl a little bit, Rob, and he also bats a little bit. Who's on the street? Who's not really doing much at the moment, looking for a bit of cricket.
His wife's cleaning his bags ready.
Just saying, he's probably taped his bat up this weekend, just like I did. And I'm just saying, there's someone, Mr. Stevens, calling Mr. Stevens. So get him in.
Value to the team.
Get him in. Saying that, Joey Everson's doing damn well. He's made a really good start this season in that all-rounder spot. Right, last but absolutely not least, Rob, Hampshire against Northamptonshire at Northampton, and Hampshire absolutely demolished Northampton, winning by an innings and 270 runs. We said last week, as we looked ahead, I don't think Hampshire are going to be looking forward to their trip to Northampton, Rob, after Northamptonshire got a great win last week and Hampshire got defeated. But that didn't really go as predicted, did it? Hampshire... They did pretty well. So 482 for 8 for Hampshire first up before the declaration came. England hopefuls, yes, they're both England hopefuls. Nick Gubbins and James Vince being the mainstays for Hampshire, both hitting 3 figures. Gubbins 125 off 249 with Vince top scorer with a nice 186 off 279. Ben Brown chipped in again with a handy 55. With the one and only bowl, Northampton shared the spoils with 2 wickets each for Ben Sanderson, Jack White, Gareth Berg and Rob Keogh. Chris Tremaine wicketless in his last game, which we'll come on to at the end of this. Northampton's start was clearly a sign of things to come, wasn't it? As Ricardo Vasconcelos, the best name to say in cricket, was out first ball of the innings, trapped in front by Mohammed Abbas. Tough one for him. Abbas took 2 for 33 in this innings. Northampton bowled out for just 149. Josh Cobb top scoring with 44. Main man with the ball for Hampshire was James Fuller, though, who took a lovely 6 for 37 off 11.1 overs. Following on, Northampton dismissed this time for a shocking 63, Rob. Yes, 63 in just 22.3 overs. Although, to be fair, Lewis McManus was absent hurt, so did not bat. So it could have been 263 for all we know if he was allowed to bat. Abbas took 4 for 31. Kyle Abbott, a mightily impressive 3 for 9 off 6, with Fuller taking another wicket for himself. A real yo-yo start to the year for Hampshire, Rob. We've made it in 2 wins now and a loss in the third 3 games.
I think we spoke about them, and the other thing I think I emphasised last time was this bowling attack unit is so good. It's always going to give you a decent place to be, and the opposition's going to struggle score over 250. You've got to score some runs, and it's actually a really timely time to go and score a load of runs with the bowling attack playing well. But also, it's pushed some of the guys' average over 50, and James Vince was touching on it, and he was basically saying, "Oh yeah, so many of the guys are averaging over 50." I was like, let me go and fact check that, James. Well, James Vince is right. Gubbins is averaging 68, Vince 57. Ben Brown has been in phenomenally consistent form, not just big scores, but consistently, and has dug his team out of holes, averaging 52. And Ian Holland down at number 7, chipping in with 51. So team's averaging 32, 4th overall. But they do have the best bowling attack in the league. It's the best on paper. It's the best on performance. 47 wickets at 22 is the best in Division 1. Strike rate of 43 is ranked 2nd. Economy rate of 3.12 is ranked 4th. Abbas, 21 wickets at 13. Abbott, 12 at 20. Fuller, 11 at 17. Only Keith Barker averaging a very large amount, which is a rarity for him, is kind of letting that bowling unit down at the moment. But this is their bread and butter. Their seam attack is world class, and they got to get the wins during these easier months of bowling. Northants, issues with the bat, averaging 18, which is the worst in D1, even behind Middlesex, mate. Top 6 is averaging 23. 77% of dismissals for the top 6 is for less than 20. That is putting you back up against the wall, and there's only so many times Rob Keogh, England watch, is going to be able to dig you out of a hole. As Hassan Azard's come in, he's struggling like he did last year at Leicestershire, wondering what's going on there. Luke Proctor had a superb year last year. He's not quite clicked this year. I think he got a really early one here. Vasconcelos is struggling at the top of the order. 3 of your top 6 struggling, not scoring runs. It leaves a lot for everyone else to mop up, particularly when your bowling attack isn't of the same ilk as a Hampshire. It's a tough year. They've got to... You know what? They're going to turn around and we'll probably lose to Hampshire, we'll probably lose to Essex, we'll probably lose to Lancashire. But if we can beat the teams around us, pick up a win like we did last week, we'll be all right. Win 4 games, we'll probably stay up.
Yeah.
They've won 1 from 3 games. They've got 11 games to go.
Plenty to go. It'll be interesting to see what they do as well, because Chris Tremaine, the Aussie seamer, due to visa restrictions, his time at Northampton is coming to an end. We don't know any more about that. Don't know. They had lined up Lance Morris at 90 mile per hour plus seam bowler from Australia to come across. He's got a back problem. He's not coming across now. So it opens a gap, doesn't it? Lance Morris, he toured over in India. He was going to be a big signing for Northants. He's missed out now on the World Test Championship final. He's going to miss out on that Aussie squad that's been announced for the first 2 tests of the Ashes. So they do have an opening. Do they reconsider their priorities and say, well, we've still got Berg, Sanderson, etc., Jack White and others. Why don't we go and get another batter to go alongside Sam Whiteman?
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you? There'll be people chomping at the bit to come and play county cricket. Yes, the IPL's on and the best players are over there. So what? There's a hell of a lot of good cricketers that aren't in the IPL that would take a county cricket contract if they could get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So after 3 rounds of cricket, Rob, Hampshire are top of the table. Deservedly so after the way they performed in the 2 wins especially. Essex are second, just 5 points adrift. Warwickshire and Surrey have only played twice. They meet each other next week. They're in 3rd and 4th. Notts 5th. Lancashire yet to win in 6th, as you said. Kent 7th. Middlesex 8th after their first win. Northants, who we just spoke about, on 9th. 1 point ahead of bottom spot Somerset, Rob. Why do you keep bullying Somerset, Rob?
I don't know, but honestly, they have been good calls last year and good calls this year.
He's not wrong. Right, Division 2, Rob, let's rattle through. We had 3 draws in the 3 games. So let's start at New Road, Worcestershire. They hosted Gloucestershire, and this was a doozy. It had plenty. It's such a shame that we didn't get the finish, because final day, Gloucestershire ripped apart the Worcestershire top order and a result was incoming. But batting first in this game, Gloucestershire, they were reduced to 45 for 7. No chance to Gloucestershire do anything out of this. Well, Tom Price decided he's going to stroll in at number 9. And by the time he was last man out, he'd hit his maiden first class 100, Rob, of 109 off just 98 deliveries, seeing them to a total of 231. Joe Leach leading the way with 4 for 49. Ben Gibbon and Dylan Pennington grabbing 2 apiece. Worcestershire's reply was going steadily at 58 for none. That was until Gloucestershire took 4 wickets in 8 balls. Ajit Dale got 1, and then Tom Price again showed why he's classed as an all-rounder of some serious promise. Took a hat-trick in the 19th over, and not a bad one either, taking the wickets of Azhar Ali, Jack Haynes, and Worcester skipper Brett D'Oliveira. All 3 caught behind by James Bracey. Beautiful symmetry. It reminds me of a time, Robert, when I was nicking off left, right, and centre. Keeper drops one. Rob drops one at slip. Someone drops one at gully. I'm pretty sure it's 3 and 4 or something like that, but you know. I'm over it. Thrumpton. So yeah. Right. Anyway. So what a great performance. Before I go on any further, Rob, Tom Price, 100 and a hat trick on the same day. This does not happen.
No, never happened either. Statos are saying it's the first time it's ever happened in county cricket. I don't know if every game ever has had the day-by-day scores recorded and stuff like that, but just what a Dear Diary moment to score 100. When you've never done it. He had a previous best of 79, which came back in 2021. That's great. To take a hat-trick is incredible. We've done 2 things that are not many people get to do in their career. Not many people score 100. Not many people take a hat-trick, and he did it on the same day. He's like, I've completed the county championship, mate. I'm ready for the next step up.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Completed it. I'll retire after today. Never play cricket again. That innings did end on 157, with all 10 wickets being shared between Ajit Dale and Tom Price. 6 for 41 for Dale, 4 for 58 for Price. So Gloucestershire then rattled along to 226 for 4 before declaration, with Chris Dent top scoring with a nice 83. James Bracey hit 51, his first half century of the season, to set up a 4th innings target of 301. Josh Tong taking 3 for 37 for Worcestershire. On the final day, Gloucestershire then reduced Worcestershire for 51 for 4. Tom Price taking another 2 wickets, with 1 apiece for Dale and Martin DeLange. Skipper D'Oliveira had also retired hurt, so you could argue it was 5 down at that point. It was lunch, the rain arrived, and that was it. Frustrated Gloucestershire, still searching for the first win of the campaign, but Worcestershire well and truly got off the hook on that one.
Yeah, they did. Worcestershire, we said, were a bit I'm not quite sure how many they're going to win, whether they're going to be top, whether they're going to be bottom, like just somewhere in the middle, and the 1-1-1. They're kind of living up to that. Top six are ranked 7th in the league with an average of 35. Bowling kind of does what it does. I've put middle of the road team question mark. That's probably going to stay there throughout the season. The D'Oliveira injury is a big one. He scored a really good at 87 till he got run out the other week, and then Matthew Waite went and scored a century off the back of that. But I think this is a broken hand. I haven't seen something out saying exactly what it is, but it was a hand injury. Couldn't continue. Probably going to be some sort of break in there. Jack Haynes has started well, averaging 61. Libby averaging 44. But outside of that, it's a little bleak. And you're taking, possibly the top 1, top 2, top 3 batter in the team out. It's only going to make it more difficult for them. Gloucestershire, well, I think they've started okay, particularly after the start. 4 for 8, 5 for 25, 6 for 32, 7 for 45 before Tom Price did his business. Chris Dent started the season pretty well without a big score. I think last season he started with a big double 100 early doors. Just consistent, averaging 41, looking pretty nice. And Graham Van Buren, who had Colpack issues. I want to say Colpack.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Brexit-related
Colpack's the right term, issues a few years ago. Sneakily averaging 81 under the radar from the couple of games that he's played. Both teams probably about where they need to be in the table at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, just trying to catch up on Brett D'Oliveira, actually. Worcestershire head coach said he did have an X-ray, but it is clear at the moment. It's pretty shaken up and he's a bit sore, but he's a very hard type of character. It takes a lot for him to come off the field. So a couple of days of icing it against Pagans, we'll see where he stands. So not the bad news they expected, which was a break. So that is good for Worcestershire. Hopefully he can recover and he'll be back pretty soon. It's a strange one. Gloucestershire, they really would have got the win if it wasn't for the weather. Frustrating for them. And it's the same pretty much played out in Cardiff, Rob, Glamorgan took on Durham. And Glamorgan will be absolutely delighted that it rained because this would have been a win for Durham. It's absolutely, if time was allowed to play out. So let's have a see how we got here with this one. Solid start to the game, 471 for 9 declared, with solid contributions for Durham throughout the batting card. Bryden Cars, though, he top scored at number 8 with a blistering 91 off 110 balls, including 3 sixes. Well done, big man. Liam Travaskis at 779. Ollie Robinson, the wicketkeeper batsman who's come across from Kent, 73. And Michael Jones, the opener, 69. Scott Borthwick, 59. He's had a pretty good start to the summer as well. Tim van der Gugten, the second most rewarding name to say in county cricket after Ricardo Vasconcelos. He took 2 for 84, whilst a couple of Aussies did the other damage. Michael Neese at 2 for 81, and Amarnis Labuschagne 4 for 81, leading wicket man. Glamorgan posted a really pretty decent 305 in reply. Kieran Carlson top scored with a very well compiled 119 after being pinned first ball by big seamer Bryden Cars. It looked like a bit of test match cricket. Cars pinning him, Carlson jumping all over the place. Great photo opportunity if anyone caught that one. Where am I going? Van der Gugten also hit 54 from the number 10 spot. Ever reliable Ben Rain 4 for 65 and Cars 3 for 89. He's England watched. I got queried on this a couple of weeks ago, but Bryden Cast is England watch. He's the sort of build and player that England like, and he's starting to get going, I reckon. So as decent as 305 was, it wasn't enough to avoid the follow-on, so it was back to batting for Glamorgan, and the second time out, it did not go very well. They dropped to a pretty dismal 104 for 6, still in deficit of 62 before rain intervened. Paul Coughlin had ripped open the top order. Sorry, Coughlin. I call him Coughlin. Removed skipper David Lloyd, Labuschagne, and Sam Northeast. That's not a bad 3 for 27 for him. Ben Rain grabbed 2 for 40 with Carsley with a wicket. So a really good display from Durham, all-round display. And as I've said, they probably would have made short work of the remainder of the game if it was allowed to play out. Durham 13 points, Glamorgan 9 for the efforts.
Durham, their goal is to get promoted. Their goal is to win Division 2, and games like that, 4 wickets from the end. It's a bit wrenching, and the kind of things that by the end of the season you'll forget, and it's like, Glamorgan drew against Durham, didn't they do well? And there's no context to the fact that they were saved by the rain. And you look at Durham, who, hypothetically speaking, they miss out on promotion by 4 points, and it's like, they needed 4 wickets on a game that had 6 sessions wiped out of it. It's such a shame. A few points from this. Marnus Labuschagne is back in England, back playing cricket, not scoring runs and bowling whatever the hell he wants. Off spin, leg spin, seam. Matthew Maynard came out and he said, "What?" The guy asked, "What about Marnus Labuschagne bowling off spin now?" And he went, "Marnus will do what Marnus wants." He took 4 wickets.
That'll do.
Spin it. He does spin it. But yeah, he's getting the opportunity to add another string to his bow. His leg spin's okay, but you can imagine him coming on in the Ashes for a spell. A bit like Ricky Ponting getting Michael Vaughan out in the 2005 Ashes, just throwing the ball, guys nicked off, quick, get him back off. Like, it could happen if he can spin the ball both ways. It kind of adds to his value as a T20 player as well.
Yeah, bit of fun.
Bit-ish. Also, Kieran Carlson's turns 25 this year during the season. 9 county championship centuries to his name. 2 this year already. Strike rate of 73 this year, above his career strike rate of 16. There's quite a lot of this. The people that are doing well in county championship cricket, they're not just batting time. They are batting at an accelerated rate way above the strike rates that they're doing. I might do a post on Twitter about it, showing career strike rates to where people are at the moment. But just, it's a constant theme. It's the McCullum-Stokes effect on the game. And plus, when you're in a position where you're playing 3 days of cricket instead of 4, someone's got to take the ball by the horn and try and get on with it.
Yeah, you're hoping as well that this McCullum-Stokes sort of ethos is going to force the talent to rise to the top, to stop playing within themselves, to stop playing controlled cricket that they were taught to play and what they're expected to play. Now it's a different game, isn't it? It's go and express yourself. And those with the better talent, the ones that don't have to dig in and grit and churn the runs out, that can go out and just be a bit more flamboyant and be a bit more positive, can't he? And Carlson is a hell of a talented player who lost quite a lot of time through injury. So he's a young 25, isn't he? If that's such a thing.
Yeah.
Right, sorry, go on.
Touching on the McCullum-Stokes thing, have you seen McCullum's been in hot water about the gambling adverts?
Mate, you've got enough money. Just drop the sponsorship. Come on now.
Honestly, and it's been all over. Every single video I watched on YouTube for about 2 weeks was, I can't remember what they're called, Bet22, and it was Brendan McCullum, and I hated the advert. I don't think he should get in trouble for doing a gambling advert. I just think it was really annoying. That was my view.
That's why you should get in trouble. Stop doing crap adverts.
The other thing I saw on Twitter was people going, "Oh, well, Brendan McCullum's not even in the country watching the games." I'm like, I'm not in the country watching the games, but I can watch every single game and every single ball live on the system. Well, he's in New Zealand and he's playing rugby. I'm like, it's up to him, whatever he's put in his contract. Right. If he's got to be in England on certain periods of his contract to allow him to go and do what he wants, like, more power to him. It should get a work-life balance like everyone else.
Too right. I mean, to be fair, England's squad is pretty locked in, unless this is like some form of like mass hamstring snapping or something across the counties. Then I don't think he needs to concern himself too far with the depth charts. We'll do that for him. Don't worry. Right. Anyway, last but not least, for us, Sussex against Yorkshire at Hove, another draw and another game where we probably think there could have been a result. Weather again, obviously, stupid rain. Yorkshire were closing in on their target of 201, closing the game on 138 for 3, with skipper Adam Live set on 69 and Shy Hope on 53. So frustrating end for Yorkshire, although Sussex will be disappointed in their second innings performance of the bat after opening the game with a fine first innings 361. Tom Alsop taking the headlines this time, 95, whilst 21-year-old wicketkeeper Ollie Carter hit 64. Tom Haynes got 48 as well at the top of the card. There was also handy scores from the likes of Finn Hudson-Prentice and Nathan McAndrew in that middle order. It's an underrated little ability there. Hudson-Prentice missing last season, really good all-rounder, and Nathan McAndrew, the Aussie. Jack Carson and Henry Crocombe in the tail also contributed as well. Ben Coe took an excellent 5 for 54. I think he nicked off 3, a bold and an LBW. It felt like a nice, just a fine set of wickets for Ben Cote. Yorkshire reply was a little under par, it had to be said, finishing 293 with a strange-looking batting card that saw opener Finlay Bean on 49, top scoring alongside second top scorer Ben Cote at number 11 with 45. Very strange. Spinner Jack Carson, another player we're delighted to see back after injuries and something like back to his best, took 5 for 79 in 21 as well. Sussex end really lost their way in this game, all out for just 137, and the innings got off to a frustrating start. Young opener Ali Orr out again. Robert again. Run out backing up for 26. Batting coach Grant Flower was not impressed. This is the third first-class game in a row this has happened to Orr. I'll let you have a rant about that in a minute, Rob. The wickets were shared around the bowling attack with spinner Don Best taking 3 for 36 to set up that 200-run chase for Yorkshire. Sussex then had reduced the visitors 39 for 3 with Hudson Prentice getting Milan and Saud Shakil, and Aussie Nathan McAndrews sending Finley Bean back. But it was skipper live and overseas ace Hope that got Yorkshire on track before rain meant this one ended all square. Sussex 7 points for this one. Yorkshire, who are still searching for their first win of the summer, take 9. Ali Orr first, Rob. Then we've got to talk about Shy Hope, and then there's a potential return to second-team cricket in the coming week for Yorkshiremen as well. So a few bits to just deal with before we finish this.
Ali Orr. Now I watched these, and I thought the first one 3 games ago was pretty poor on his behalf. The second one was a little bit unlucky, and the third one, I don't know what he could have done different. He wasn't that far out the ground and he threw himself back. Whereas the first one was a bit like, oh no, look what's happened. And then it was kind of like incrementally being more urgent about what he's doing. If it is this way, and Tom Haynes plays these straight drives, and it keeps happening, which you can look at and go, that's really unlucky. But if it keeps happening, it's part of the game that he hits the ball in this area. Just stay back, mate. Just stay back. Like you're not in the business of T20 cricket where you're trying to take these super duper, tight singles every single time. You don't have to do that. You better play if you're at the crease as opposed to really pushing the line. And honestly, I didn't feel like he was really pushing the line on this one. It just looked like he made a really good effort to get back. He wasn't far out of his crease. It was standard, if not a little bit less backing up than sometimes what you see. So it's awkward, and it's awkward for my stats when I'm going through it and seeing that someone else is on strike and he's the guy that's been dismissed. That screws me up a bit.
Yeah. So basically, for that reason and that reason alone, Ali, stop it. Stop messing about.
Yeah, exactly. It's ruining his figures as well, mate, because he's an exceptional player. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he averages 45, but he averages over 45 against pace and spin, and that's really unique to be that well-rounded. And these 3 run-outs are setting him back. They really are. Yeah,
it's just like the coach said. It's like it's not only hurting Orr, it's hurting the team as well. Sussex strength is built upon that batting, and especially that top order. Got to stop doing it. Whether it's his fault, who knows? But it is 3 in a row. That's a trend. So something has changed. Another talking point, Rob. 18th over the 4th innings, score on 54 for 3. Them setting the scene. Shy Hope. He was given not out despite having wandered out of his crease. This is how I'm describing it off the report. He wandered out of his crease before wicketkeeper Ollie Carter removed the bails. Hope had clearly tapped his bat before the bails fell, and square leg umpire Neil Pratt declined the appeal, presumably having decided that the ball was already dead. Grant Flower, that man again, Sussex batting coach, was in no doubt after the play about the average umpiring that led to Hope's reprieve. Flower said, we noticed that he'd left his crease once or twice in the first innings and in the second, so we thought if he did it again, we'd run him out, which was the case. His bat wasn't in the ground and he hadn't got permission from our fielders to leave the crease, so the ball wasn't dead. Thoughts?
I struggle to know where I sit.
I know, I'm the same.
It depends what you're playing. Like, if this is... One of the things I saw in a game of club cricket was guy defended the ball, it's in the middle of the pitch, no one's around, and just like in net, he picked it up and chucked it back to the bowler. And the bowler appealed and he got given out. And I thought, that's a bit average. But the rules of the game are really clear, and you need to work out what you're playing up against and what you're playing. And if you're playing professional cricket, you've got Ashwin, every time you walk out your crease trying to wrung you out before he's bowled the ball. Like, the rules are there, and people are going to take them to the ladder to get you out. And you can't just assume that it's a friendly game of cricket where you've tapped your bat and off you go. Yeah. You've got to wait till the ball's dead. You don't give it any single chance. And if it happened to me and I was stumped or run out like that, I'll be really disappointed. But likewise, I wouldn't bloody do it again.
Yeah, that's very true. It is a tough one, isn't it? Without seeing it, I've tried to look at the video and I haven't been able to see it. So if anyone's got that, tag us in on Twitter on that one, or YouTube or wherever. But it's a strange one, isn't it? Because he seems to think he's probably done nothing wrong, Hope. But obviously Sussex have got niggled about it, and not just a little bit. They've discussed it in the dressing room. They're niggled. So this is a really frustrating one, and it wasn't a particularly pleasant end of the game by all reports. So strange one, but yeah, interesting. Be interesting to know what people's thoughts are on this, especially anyone that did watch it on the live stream or at the game or anything like that. So let us know your thoughts. Last point to make on Yorkshire, Rob, before we move on. Johnny Bairstow should be playing next week, second 11 cricket against Notts. and was hoping to keep wicket for part of the game as well. He's 33, sneaky old Johnny Bairstow. Been out since September with that broken leg, golf injury. Don't play golf, kids. And yeah, they're looking to give him a go. It's interesting that he wants to keep wicket as well. I don't know if that's just because he's not done it for a while, or if he's identifying Mr. Folkes' spot rather than Mr. Brooks' spot as he's way back in the England team.
I think he's under instruction that you probably should get some keeping under your pace.
That said, without any comment, we love Ben Folkes.
So, we do. Yeah. We do. This is almost the Ben Folkes appreciation podcast. I can't wait for this. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't know if Notts or Yorkshire are streaming their second 11 games on YouTube. I know Sussex are, and I caught a bit of that the other day. But interested to see how he goes. You know, he was in the form of his life. 6 tons last year for England. Centuries in virtually every single series he played against, every country he played against, India, New Zealand, Australia, West Indies. He was scoring runs for fun, so I can't wait to see him back. Big Johnny Bairstow.
Yeah, I just had a quick look and it's actually at Headingley. That's very annoying. I was thinking if Notts got the home fixture, might have had to pop down. That's disappointing. So that gets us through 3 rounds, Rob. Division 2, Durham top 40 points. Worcestershire, Leicestershire not far behind in 2nd and 3rd. Sussex 4th. Remaining 4 spots are all winless. Glamorgan just above Gloucestershire with Yorkshire in 7th spot and Derbyshire bottom on 14. I'll just rattle through the fixtures of next week, just see where we are, and then you can pick out anything you want to before we wrap up. Just the 5 games next week, Rob. Middlesex host Kent. Warwickshire take on Surrey in Division 1. Return for both of those teams after a week off. And Division 2, Durham, Derbyshire, Gloucestershire, Sussex, Leicestershire, Glamorgan.
Warwickshire, Surrey. There's a game. That Warwickshire
stands out.
bowling attack going up against that Surrey bowling attack is big. Derbyshire need a real good bounce back after a couple of poor performances against Durham. They've got to get themselves going. They've got to take some wickets from somewhere. Glamorgan, Leicestershire, can't say I'm enamoured with watching that. Sussex, Gloucestershire, I'm enjoying watching Sussex for the batting. It's going to be another good game of cricket. Only 5 games, which again, is still strange. We've got this action-packed summer where there's so much cricket, and we're not just having like 5-6 straight weeks of hey, everyone get your games in. So it's quite interesting.
What do we know? I mean, the calendar's perfect, Robbie. There's nothing to be criticised about this cricketing calendar whatsoever in England cricket at the moment.
There was a great article in the Guardian or the Telegraph, and it was from the readers' poll about what they would do to change county cricket. And I don't know it all. I haven't read it all. I saw a summary, and we'll touch on it another time.
Ooh, I like that. Send it, mate. I missed that one.
But that will be quite interesting, and I'm sure we're going to pull out the usual, get rid of the 100, and bring back one 18-team league. Make sure they play 24 games like the 70s. But that's going to be us done for another week. Podcast in the books. Week 3 in the books. Week 4 coming up next week. We'll be back. Our depth chart will get underway sometime soon. Hopefully this week. Just need to try and get 2 pods a week in. So thank you so much for listening. Check out the website. Check us out on Twitter at Leading Edge Pod. And if you get 2 seconds, just give us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. We'll catch you next time.